the call, rise above the shadows glow. Was his strong and heart so wide?
Welcome to True Story Africa. Today's true life story will leave you gutted and amazed at the hidden dark secrets lurking in the minds of certain wealthy men in today's world. This true life story is one which happened recently in the eastern part of Nigeria. It is a story that is filled with so many intriguing twists and turns and life lessons. A story of trust, a story of betrayal, a story for the ages. Discover the true story of Clara, a woman who began with noble intentions to support her community, but through a series of choices, found herself making questionable decisions that set off a chain of events, ultimately leading her down a troubling path. So reschedule that blind date, leave that noisy area, grab your snack, drink, or whatever nice treats you have in your hands. Sit down, relax, Netflix, and chill as we embark on this epic true life story. If you find our videos interesting and engaging, please subscribe to our channel. Click the bell icon to get notified once we post new videos. The main highlight of this particular story is 100% true, but we write our own unique storyline to make the story more engaging and interesting. The purpose is to pass the message in the story, not misdirect. Please note. Now, back to our story. Chapter 1. A vision is conceived. In the quiet little town of Umuokoro, in a faraway village in Hemo State, lived Clara, a lively young girl, born to the family of Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. She was their firstborn and only daughter. She had two other younger brothers, Patrick and Peter, and they all lived together as one big, happy family. Clara had the beauty of her mother and the courage and humility of her father. She unfortunately lost her mother when she was just 10 years old. Mrs. Hayberry, her mother, was a loving and easygoing woman who assisted her husband on the farm. One day, she was unfortunate to be bitten by a venomous snake in the bush path while she was busy working in the farm. All efforts to revive her proved abortive as she succumbed to the snake's venom. The family was devastated, particularly Clara's father. He loved his wife dearly, and after his wife's death, to preserve her blessed memory, he decided not to remarry again. Mr. Harrison carried on with life with his 3 kids, Clara his first, and then her 2 younger ones, Patrick and Peter. And so the once vibrant home grew quiet, and young Clara was trusted to a role far beyond her years. Overnight, she became a mother figure to her 2 younger brothers, each too young to comprehend their mother's absence. Mr. Harrison, devastated, leaned on Clara for support, setting the foundation for her future resilience. The household dynamics changed drastically. Mr. Harrison had to balance his farming duties with caring for his children, but Clara quickly stepped in to fill the void. She woke up early to prepare meals, bathed her brothers, and ensured they were ready for school. Clara's small hands became skilled at pounding yam, fetching water, and caring for the family's needs. Though the responsibilities were heavy, Clara bore them with remarkable maturity, earning her father's admiration and the community's respect. Mr. Harrison was naturally a nice man, and despite the loss of his wife, he never changed his personality and attitude. He was always positive. He was a very humble and free-spirited man who only wanted the best for everyone around him. He had a soft heart for the less privileged in the community and was always lending a helping hand here and there. Mr. Harrison was not just a father to his children, he was a father figure to the community. Whenever someone faced difficulty, they turned to him for advice or assistance. He helped resolve disputes, lent money to struggling families, and provided jobs on his farm. Clara observed these acts of kindness and began to understand the power of generosity. It shaped her values, instilling in her a desire to make a difference, even in the smallest ways. Mr. Harrison had a good relationship with his father while he was alive. He had inherited a large portion of land from his late father when he passed. He used part of the land for farming. In the other part, he built a small bungalow apartment which housed his family. There was still a large expanse of land, and he had the option of building anything on the land. The general harsh economic climate, coupled with the rising costs of food items and utilities, especially rent, caused a sizable amount of poor, struggling families in the neighborhood to lose their homes. And they couldn't cope anymore, and so they were left stranded on the streets. This situation touched Mr. Harrison's heart, and it unintentionally sparked a fire, a burden in his heart. He wanted to help the disadvantaged in the community, and this presented a perfect opportunity to do so. With a renewed commitment, Mr. Harrison approached a commercial bank for a loan to build cheap residential apartment units that would be affordable to even the lowliest of income earners in the community. He eventually succeeded in securing the loan, and the building project took off. After some months, the whole apartment building was completed, and even the village chief alongside the city dwellers were all invited to the commissioning of the apartment building. It was a day of celebration, particularly for poor families who would benefit immensely from the reduced rent in the new apartment buildings. And so the vision was complete. Clara's role in the family became even more crucial as the years went by. She helped her brothers with their schoolwork, taught them manners, and ensured they felt loved. Though she sometimes felt the weight of her responsibilities, she never complained. Instead, she found joy in small victories, her brothers excelling in school, her father's gratitude, and the occasional kind words from the community. These moments made her sacrifices feel worthwhile. By the time Clara turned 19, she was no longer just a daughter or a sister. She was a pillar of her family. Her father's dream of building affordable housing had been realized, and she became the apartment's manager. She understood the importance of giving back and vowed to continue her father's legacy. Little did she know, the challenges ahead would test her resolve and change her life forever. Chapter 2: The Fallout. Months later, the housing complex was ready. It consisted of 25 modest rooms, each equipped with basic amenities. On the day of the grand opening, the entire community gathered to celebrate, chaired by the community leader, Mazi. There was drumming, dancing, and laughter as Mr. Harrison handed keys to the first tenants. Clara felt a surge of pride as she watched her father's dream come alive. He reminded her that the complex was not just about providing shelter, but also about offering dignity to the less privileged. She silently vowed to protect her father's legacy, no matter what. The affordable rent brought relief to many families in Umogoro who struggled to meet the exorbitant rates charged by other landlords. Parents who once feared eviction could now sleep peacefully. Clara often visited the tenants, listening to their stories and helping with their needs. The gratitude of the tenants brought joy to her heart. She felt closer to her father, knowing that they had made a tangible impact on people's lives. Her father became a local hero, further cementing their family's reputation in the village. But not everyone celebrated Mr. Harrison's success. The local landlords who once enjoyed a monopoly on rental properties began to resent him. Their profits dwindled as tenants flocked to the affordable housing complex. At the heart of this group was Mr. Okeke, the leader of the Landlords Association, a man known for his ruthless business tactics. He and his allies saw Mr. Harrison's project as a threat and began to plot ways to bring him down. Clara and her father, oblivious to these brewing tensions, continued their work with unwavering dedication. The landlord started a smear campaign, spreading rumors about Mr. Harrison's integrity. They accused him of using substandard materials and claimed the building was unsafe. Some even tried to intimidate him with veiled threats. Despite this, Mr. Harrison stood firm. Clara noticed her father's calm demeanor in the face of adversity, and it inspired her to remain strong. She dismissed the rumors as jealousy, unaware of the darker plans forming behind closed doors. Desperate to eliminate Mr. Harrison, the landlords turned to a more deadly approach. They consulted a feared native doctor known for his dark rituals and dreaded evil practices. He asked for 2 items, which they promptly provided. They presented him with Mr. Harrison's photograph and a piece of cloth from his farm attire. The native doctor took the items inside his dimly lit shrine and performed some incantations under the cover of night, invoking harmful spirits to attack Mr. Harrison. And this act of malice would set in motion a series of events that would alter Clara's life forever. Chapter 3. Death Strikes. One fateful evening, Mr. Harrison sat in his room, reviewing plans for expanding the housing complex. Without warning, he started gasping for breath. Clara was in the backyard washing some clothes when she heard her father struggling in his room. By the time she got there, he had collapsed, vomiting blood from his mouth. Clara rushed to his side, her heart pounding as she called for help. But despite their best efforts, her father passed away before medical assistance could arrive. The news of his sudden death sent shockwaves through the community. For Clara, it felt as though her entire world had crumbled. The man she admired most, her rock, was gone. She had lost her mother to a venomous snake bite, and now her father to strange circumstances. She was truly devastated. The villagers mourned the loss of Mr. Harrison deeply. His funeral was attended by hundreds, each person sharing stories of his kindness and generosity. Clara stood stoically beside her younger brothers, her face a mask of grief. The tenants of the housing complex vowed to honor his memory by taking care of the building. Clara felt the weight of her father's legacy pressing down on her shoulders. She knew she had to step into his shoes, even though the path ahead seemed uncertain. As the eldest child, Clara assumed responsibility for managing the housing complex and caring for her brothers. She was only 20, but carried herself with the maturity of someone much older. Clara knew that the loans her father had taken still needed repayment, and the fear of losing the building loomed large. She began strategizing ways to keep her family afloat while preserving her father's dream. Her resilience impressed the community, but the burdens she bore often left her feeling isolated. Despite the pain of her father's death, Clara found solace in the memories of their shared vision. She resolved to protect the housing complex at all costs, drawing strength from her father's teachings. However, the challenges she faced were only beginning. The landlords, emboldened by their success in eliminating Mr. Harrison, would soon shift their focus to her. Chapter 4. The Strange Visitor. In the wake of Mr. Harrison's death, Clara struggled to adapt to her new responsibilities. She found herself managing the housing complex and providing for both of her younger ones. Each day was a whirlwind of activities, collecting rent, fixing broken amenities, and ensuring her brothers attended school. Her heart ached for her father, whose dream now rested entirely on her shoulders. Though overwhelmed, she resolved to preserve his legacy. However, she soon discovered that the weight of responsibility would test her limits in ways she never imagined. The housing complex's financial stability began to waver. The loan payments her father had carefully managed were now overdue. Clara received stern notices from the bank, warning her that failure to pay could result in foreclosure. Her father's dream, once a beacon of hope, now hung by a thread. The tenants, though grateful, were mostly poor and often delayed rent payments. Clara found herself dipping into her meager savings to cover the deficit. Each passing day brought her closer to despair, as she struggled to balance compassion for the tenants with the harsh realities of financial obligations. While some in the community rallied around Clara, offering help and encouragement, others began to doubt her ability to manage the complex. whispers spread about her youth and inexperience. The Landlords Association, emboldened by Mr. Harrison's absence, resumed their campaign of intimidation. They claimed Clara was incapable of maintaining the building and urged tenants to vacate. Despite the growing challenges, Clara held her ground, refusing to let her father's enemies destroy what he had built. She knew she had to be strong, not just for herself, but for the memory of her father and the future of her brothers. One evening, a wealthy businessman named Chief Obi visited Clara at the apartment complex. He praised her resilience and offered to help pay off the loan in exchange for a share of the building's ownership. While his proposal seemed generous, his condescending tone and veiled threats made Clara uneasy. She refused, stating that the complex was her father's legacy and not for sale. Chief Obi left, but his lingering smirk warned of trouble ahead. This encounter marked Clara's first brush with Chief Obi's darker intentions. At home, Clara's brothers looked to her for guidance. The eldest among them often questioned why their lives had become so difficult. "What can't we live like other families?" he asked one night. Clara had no answers, only promises that things would get better. Her brother's needs, school fees, clothing and food added to her mounting stress, yet she hid her struggles from them, determined to shield them from the harsh realities she faced. Her role as both sister and mother weighed heavily on her, but she remained resolute in her commitment to their well-being. The Landlords Association, frustrated by their inability to reclaim tenants, intensified their efforts against Clara. They spread false rumors that she was planning to raise rents and mistreat the tenants. Some tenants, swayed by these lies, began to question Clara's motives. She found herself defending her integrity at every turn. The constant scrutiny and negativity began to take a toll on her mental health. Despite this, she held her head high, clinging to the values her father had instilled in her. Chapter 5. A New Vision. As the financial struggles intensified, Clara decided to reinvent the apartment complex as a haven for disadvantaged teenage girls. Inspired by her father's humanitarian spirit, she opened the doors to young girls who had no shelter, who were fleeing abuse or faced abandonment. She hoped this would attract generous donations from well-meaning, high-net-worth individuals in the community. And she was spot on. The new vision and initiative was a huge success. Clara began receiving huge donations from well-meaning, anonymous donors. At first, this seemed like the perfect solution, a way to honor her father's legacy while attracting community goodwill. The first few girls who arrived at the complex, like Kiki and RLB, were welcomed warmly. And so, Clara felt a sense of purpose reignite within her. She hoped this new initiative would stabilize her life and the building's finances. The community welcomed this new direction and praised Clara for all her efforts. Gradually, she began receiving donations from well-meaning individuals who supported her initiative. The teenage girls in Clara's care began to bond like sisters. Despite their painful pasts, they found solace in each other and the safe space Clara had provided. Clara became a mother figure to them, offering advice, listening to their stories, and trying her best to provide a sense of normalcy. The girls pitched in with chores and helped around the complex, creating a sense of community. Clara started believing she was finally turning things around. One afternoon, Chief Obi, who had earlier visited her apartment complex, paid her another visit. Under the pretense of making a donation, Chief Obi praised Clara for her efforts to help disadvantaged girls. He offered her a large sum of money and promised to make regular donations, but his compliments carried a sinister undertone. His eyes lingered on the girls, and his remarks about their beauty sent a chill down Clara's spine. Though she initially declined his help, the encounter left her uneasy and foreshadowed darker days ahead. All this while, the Landlord Association leader, Mr. Ekena, was still not done with Clara. They had seen how she kept receiving donations upon donations and they were jealous of her success. Thanks so much for watching. What fate awaits Clara and the girls? And what evil intention does Chief Obias up his sleeve? And will the Landlord Association succeed in bringing down Clara the way they eliminated her father? Find out these and many more unanswered questions in the concluding part of this epic true life story. Subscribe and put on the notification bell so you are duly notified when we post the part 2. Till I bring to you another exhilarating true life story. This is True Story Africa.
Story Africa, hear the call. Rise above the shadows tall. Voices strong and hearts so wide. Together we'll take this ride. Savannah whispers secret soul. Lions roar, the tales unfold. Rivers hum a soothing song, flowing fast where we belong. True Story Africa, hear the call. Rise above the shadows tall. Voices strong and hearts so wide. Together we'll take this ride. True Story Africa, hear the call. Rise above the shadows tall. Voices strong and hearts so wide. Together we'll